There are a couple different moments of truth that I've noticed for the executives in an organization with Enterprise 2.0. And one of the interesting things is that all these moments of truth occur after they've already signed the check and after they've sent out the first all-hands memo or the first all-hands email saying, hey, we've activated this platform, we would really love you to start contributing and participating, so have at it. The moments of truth tend to come up after both of those things have occurred, and they tend to be when someone says, great, why don't you lead by example? And why don't you start tweeting or blogging or putting up a profile or doing a video diary every day? And when you do that, when you launch your executive blog, why don't you turn on comments so that we can react to you? And why don't you respond to those comments? In other words, are you really going to live these values yourselves and show us that you're serious about it? Or are you going to have your PR staff compose your blog post? Believe me, your organization can tell if that's the case. Or are you going to treat this as one more one-way channel for information flow in the organization? One more megaphone for you to amplify your voice out there to the employee base. If you do the latter, I don't think you're going to be as successful as an organization. Another moment of truth tends to come up when we don't see overnight success with Enterprise 2.0 environments. The runaway successes, the overnight apparent successes of things like Twitter and Facebook have given a lot of us the incorrect assumption that if we build it, they will come. And that all we have to do is, again, turn on the environment, send out one email, and then sit back and watch people stampede into these things. That's typically not what happens, and it takes sustained engagement, not just from the IT department, not from the CIO, not from the change management experts in the organization and the evangelists, but I believe as well from the top of the organization to say, we talked about it last month, we're going to talk about it again. I really want this to happen. I am leading by example, and I'm also going to highlight things I see in Enterprise 2.0 that I think are great examples, good patterns of behavior, interaction. I'm going to highlight those. The last moment of truth that I've seen is what happens when something goes not quite the way we planned or not quite the way we would like in these environments. For example, I was talking a while back with some Enterprise 2.0 champions at a very large international company, and they said some of our discussion forums have been interesting for us because we've got people from all different countries coming together and talking, and they have different prior expectations about what's appropriate, what's inappropriate content. Some cultures are much more comfortable with some kinds of humor than others. Some are very uncomfortable with it. These people are coming together for the first time, and while it hasn't blown up or caused any terrible catastrophes, there is a little bit of discomfort here. Now, when that happens, are we going to shut it down and walk away from the experiment? Or are we going to send out the lightest possible guideline to say, gang, let's follow the following couple of ground rules here, but let's keep the discussion going that way? Another flavor of that moment of truth is when someone uses one of these environments to disagree with an executive, with the official strategy of the organization, or with the official voice of the company. The reflex I've noticed a lot of times is to, again, remove that comment, shut it down, and go back to having one voice for the organization. If that's what you want to do, Enterprise 2.0 is really not going to be that powerful for you. I remember a while back when I was doing research for my book, I went to one of the largest tech companies in the United States who had a really thriving Enterprise 2.0 environment, and they were showing me their most recent blog post titles. And the very first one I looked at was something like, "Why Our Corporate Strategy is Misguided." And I said, wow, I was joking. I said, I assume that person's been fired. And they said, absolutely not. This is exactly the kind of debate that we want to have in this company. If we say we value diversity of opinion, here's diversity of opinion. We need to live that value. We've got a couple different ways to look at the ROI question, though. There have been a couple of attempts that I'm familiar with to identify the business benefits of adopting Enterprise 2.0 tools and approaches, and I find them really encouraging. For example, McKinsey has done an annual survey of both what people are reporting that the projects they're launching with Enterprise 2.0 and the business benefits that we're getting. And the results from the 2009 survey are incredibly encouraging. Companies are reporting benefits in categories like increasing rates of innovation, increasing levels of customer and employee satisfaction, and better access to knowledge and expertise in the organization. So these are things that we'd actually really like to get better at. The other really heartening thing is that the average benefits that the respondents are reporting are not trivial. They're not at the order of 5 or 10%. The median benefit is a lot closer to somewhere between 20 and 35%. Now, we have to be careful interpreting these results because I'm pretty sure they asked the internal champion in a lot of cases who was pretty enthusiastic about the technology. But even taking that into account, these are non-trivial benefits in non-trivial benefit categories. So we should take some comfort from that. I've also come across a couple of case studies of organizations that are set up to measure things very precisely. Call centers, for example, measure almost every aspect of their operating model with great precision. What percent of calls were resolved on what percent of customer requests were responded to accurately on the first call, how long did the calls take, what were customer satisfaction levels. They're measuring the heck out of these things. I have seen results of Enterprise 2.0 pilots in these kinds of environments where the company noticed a real increase in things like first call satisfaction rates or first call response rates and customer satisfaction levels very soon after the Enterprise 2.0 environment was turned on and people started contributing to it. It turns out that this kind of knowledge centralization comes in really handy in operational environments like call centers. So in a couple instances, we have been able to put the magnifying glass on the situation and try to assess the business benefits. I'm really impressed by the benefits that we see when we do that. Most organizations, though, don't have the magnifying glass on all of their aspects of performance like call centers do. So the data aren't there as readily as they are in call center environments.